Welcome to the Draw Shop's Get Genius podcast, where we talk to today's business influencers to pick their brain and pull out their genius. It's time to get genius.
Hello, listeners. Today I'm interviewing Stan Way, who is the founder of Peak Sales Results. He's a highly sought-after sales coach and keynote speaker, and his goal is to empower individuals and businesses, small and large, to have massive sales results by working from a core of integrity and by delivering true value to the world. I myself get frustrated when I'm being sold to and have that icky feeling of pressure and like the person doesn't really care what's in my best interest. And Stan teaches people how to reverse that so that your prospect is actually excited, aware that you're selling to them, but excited about what you have to offer because they're feeling cared for. And there's specific techniques that he teaches so that they get that feeling. After years of working as a corporate sales trainer with multiple Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies, Stan and Peak Sales Results focus on teaching people sales with a purpose. And this is so that people can live the life of their dreams. He teaches entrepreneurs the scientifically proven, most effective ways to make sales and increase their income on demand. And he has a big purpose himself because lifelong happiness and fulfillment is the end goal for him and for his clients. And he teaches these professionals and businesses how to utilize these amazing sales techniques so that they can get to that life of fulfillment faster. It's a very refreshing look on sales, and I think you're really going to enjoy this interview. Enjoy. Hi, Stan, and welcome to the Get Genius podcast.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm living the dream.
Awesome. Well, we were just talking a little bit before we started about some technical difficulties, so hopefully we won't have any of those, and we'll have a awesome conversation for our listeners. To start with, if you could give us kind of the brief story about Stan Way and how you got started with Peak Sales Results.
Yeah, so no, I appreciate that, and I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. Peak Sales Results kind of came as a result of the fact that, I am someone who has been in sales, I guess more or less my whole life. When I was young, me and my single mother, we grew up in the best way I can put it is, just terrible poverty.
Yeah. Oh.
and I remember, as a young kid, trying to sell things and everything around the neighborhood and making a few extra bucks, and then I'd mow some lawns and all sorts of stuff. And I thought, man, this is great. This is how you generate revenue to have the things you want, So the other kids, who wanted to buy the candy bar at lunch couldn't, but I could because, I was selling stuff. And
yeah.
So, yeah, as I grew into an adult, I got into sales professionally. Was quickly promoted to a corporate sales trainer with a large insurance company here in the United States, and then went through a series of mishaps, misfortunes, and everything else, kind of like everyone else in life. Ended up being in several different management positions, and then for a short period, I call it in a former life, I even helped manage Taco Bell's.
Nice.
But, I ended up back as a corporate sales trainer with a couple of different Fortune 100 companies, and discovered and found that really the reason I kind of never liked sales with any large corporation or organization was because what they were teaching was outdated and not very effective. And it wasn't focused on serving the client or the potential client.
Right.
And so that's where Peak Sales Results comes from. I am very blessed to, actually, you asked how I'm doing. I said, I'm living the dream. I do, I'm 33 years old. I live my dream, and I empower businesses and sales professionals to not just use sales in their business to increase revenue, but I teach them how to do it with the latest techniques in brain science and psychology, but also with the full service approach to serving with a servant's heart for potential clients. So that's what I teach, that's what I do, that's what I speak on, and that's what I love, because at the end of the day, if you've got a product or service, it's about helping people.
Right.
So
and so you teach people what's called sales with a purpose.
Yes.
What can you go into that a little bit more, because talk about the purpose for the actual person selling and then the customer.
Yeah. So, when I talk about sales with a purpose, I think, most people fall into sales jobs.
Yeah.
No one ever woke up, when they were 12 years old and said, "Hey, I want to be a sales guy," or I want to be a saleswoman, because, most people have very negative feelings around sales.
Yeah.
When you say the word sales,
they think pressure,
you think of like that scummy guy at the used car lot or something,
Right.
So most people end up in a sales position, because they realize revenue's there, but it's not like it was a life choice for a lot of people, so I teach, first off from, top on down, companies, organizations, corporations, how to actually change their whole sales approach. But then personally, I teach sales with a purpose to individual salespeople across all genres, industries, verticals, because ultimately no one's purpose in life, or very few people's purpose in life is to be a salesperson. They have bigger things. They want to, spend more time with their family, their kids. They want to travel. And so I teach people to approach sales from kind of a holistic approach, and use some mindset techniques to look at what they really want in life. Like, where do you want to be in 5 years? And how can this career get you there? And if it can't, you don't believe in the product or service, so you should leave it, probably, and find a different product or service to sell. So when I say sales with a purpose, my goal when I coach people individually is to teach them to sell their own product or service, or find a product and service they love so much that they can sell with pure integrity, to make someone else's life better, and obviously use the money that they make to go towards their bigger life goals.
Right. So by teaching this, you've said that you believe that if someone can fully master the skill of sales, they can have all that they want in life.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I'll use an example. I've got a guy I've been working with personally. He sells cell phone services in a kiosk in a mall. Before working with me, or when he started working with me, he was making about $33,000 a year. For the calendar year of 2017, and you and I were recording this in September.
Yeah.
But, by the end of 2017, he will probably, gross just over $200,000 in sales. Just implementing some of the mindset and sales techniques that I've worked with him on, and everyone could be like, oh, well, he works in a kiosk in a mall. Well, yeah, he does, but he's also, he gets to volunteer with the Boys and Girls Club now. He can afford to help out his mom with her house payments. He's living the life he wants. And so, yeah, that's a powerful thing.
Now, can anybody, there's some people that say, I'm just not a salesperson. That's not my thing. But, I kind of believe that in any, especially if you're an entrepreneur in anything that you're doing, you're always in one way or another selling. And like you said, selling has that kind of like, oh, but, you can call it sharing, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But we're always, the things that we buy, the things that we do is the result of somebody or something or some commercial selling to us. So I think personally, it's an important thing to know. You might not be the salesman. That's what you do every day. You're going out and selling a product, but somehow in the way that you're communicating, you are selling. Do you think that's true?
Oh yeah, everything in life is sales. But yeah, you're exactly right. There's a lot of people who think, oh yeah, no, I can't be a salesperson. Well, I in my inner core, I believe everyone is a good person, or wants to be a good person.
Right. Yeah.
Some people have a harder time, and I think when you've aligned yourself with the right product or service, or if you have your own business and you're working from a core of integrity, just by virtue of being a good person, you can be a good salesperson if you're passionate about what you have. Period.
Right.
Look, closing techniques and sales scripts and all those things. Look, those are wonderful. Those are helpful. But if you truly believe that your product or service is going to make someone's life better, and you just convey that, look, people will buy from you.
What are 3 tips that you could share with our listeners that they could implement in their selling strategies today?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a good question. I like a good curveball. So, thanks. I would say number 1, understand that you need a little bit of coaching and training. And that for most people could be, listening to this podcast, or listening to a podcast, or spending $12 on a book on Amazon. Getting some coaching and training is so vital, because almost everyone, that is in sales has been undercoached or undertrained, frankly. And this even goes for entrepreneurs, the the side hustlers of the world who are trying to build their own business. That they might, watch all these webinars and build all these fancy online products or courses or coaching or something. But, if you don't understand a simple sales process, you're going to fail. So that's number 1 is just get a little bit of education. Number 2 is, once again, kind of like I've already said, make sure that everything that you're doing is kind of in line with wholesome core integrity. Make sure that you're actually serving the people that you work with. And then number 3 would really just be make sure that whatever you're doing is serving your life purpose. My life purpose is, like I already said, I grew up in poverty as a kid. I remember rolling pennies to be able to go afford ramen noodles for dinner.
Yeah.
That's kind of the life I grew up in. And so, my purpose in life, it's kind of twofold. It's to ensure that my children never know anything like that, but also to empower other people to be so good at sales and in their businesses to be able to help them live the life of their dreams.
That's awesome. What about measuring your success? Some people will have a certain number that they're working towards. Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? How do people measure whether they're doing well? And I like asking this question because some people, there's various answers, believe it or not. We hear success isn't just numbers, or success is you have to have a number goal. You have to have something that you're reaching towards. How do you measure that with your clients?
Yeah. So, when I work one-on-one with folks, understand that whatever their goal is right. And I help them understand that, because there are some, people that will make, $85,000 a year and be, head over heels happy. Then there's other people who, if they're not making $500,000 a year, it's painful and life is terrible. It's like you said, success is different to different people. So, measuring yourself with sales, and measuring, how many times you're pitching your product and service and your closing ratios, those things are standards. Those things are musts. You must increase your closing ratio. You must work better to serve your target audience. But as far as a numeric, money goal, at the end of the day, money is kind of shallow. It's about what kind of happiness you have in life and what kind of purpose you're trying to lead. So, not everyone can be the Gary Vaynerchuk of the world,
right.
Hustle. Some people are really happy, like I said, making, $85,000 a year in a sales position. And if that's you, great, more power to you. I'm happy that you're happy, and that's good. And I think other people, when they get into the entrepreneurial space or, start studying sales or anything, they compare themselves way, way, way too much to others. And they try to, project other people's goals within their life, which is bad,
Yeah.
It's just not what you should do.
So what are some of the things that people are maybe not understanding about the customer and their journey through the sales process that we can shed some light on?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think, and this is what I try to tell salespeople is like, look, everyone knows they're being sold to. You know,
Yeah.
if you're in a sales position, if you have an online, product or course or coaching, or if you're in a retail position or wherever you're at, people know they're being sold to. So, just being really transparent and honest about, hey, look, I have a product or service. It might be a great fit for you. It may not. Let me ask a few questions and let me kind of, see if you even qualify for it. Because if you don't, look, I'm happy to send you somewhere else. And so acknowledging, to a potential client that, hey, yeah, you do have something that you're going to try to sell them, but that they may not be the right fit. And then working from a core of integrity. And if you truly can't serve them and you know someone else who can serve them better, send them over. Give them a referral somewhere else. You will earn far more business giving away referrals like that than you ever will trying to sell someone into your product or service that doesn't fit.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, maybe you have some thoughts or insight there, but yeah, I think, just telling people, look, this is the process I'm about to take you through, but hey, look, I might send you somewhere else. I think that's key, especially, in this day and age.
Yeah. I still witness, I'm very, just being in marketing, I'm always kind of dissecting and analyzing when I am, in the middle of a sales pitch or, watching someone from stage or in a private one-on-one. And so I notice the things that work for me, always knowing, like you said, I think that's so great to know, hey, you are going to be, I am going to share with you something and I am going to try to, sell you something. But I notice the things that work. I notice the things that don't work. And I'd love to hear from you some of the things that you think people are still practicing, because I think, years ago there was that super hard close or get them pressure them into a corner, make them buy, that type of selling, you know what I mean? Very aggressive, that people are talking about more and more that don't work, but people are still using it. They kind of give you that guilt trip of, well, you're not going to buy. Well, then, you're ruining your whole life. Worst decision you could make. I'd love to, for some of our people out there that are, consistently either selling, upselling, selling from stage, on the phone, whatever it is, whatever communication they're having, what are some of the things that don't really work and then maybe they should step back from?
Oh yeah, no, I love this because you're 100% correct. You used to could do the Wolf of Wall Street, phone approach, or whatever you want to call it. This high pressure thing. One of the things I do, and it's funny because nowhere on any website do I advertise that I do this. It's just all word of mouth. But I'm pretty well known in the coaching community for helping people implement virtual sales teams. And so, when you're selling coaching services, over a phone to, people who may have came through a webinar funnel or something, the methodology that I teach is pretty opposite from what people would consider some big name stuff out there,
Right.
Because there are some big name online coaches or gurus, or call them whatever you will. You get on a call with them and they lead you through this qualifying psychological sales process, and then at the end it's like, well, our coaching is $15,000, but if you act today it's $7,000. But if you don't make the decision here on the phone, it's going to be $15,000. And and if someone pushes back, they say, well, you must not be serious about your business. That makes me sick.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. I've implemented at this point nearly a dozen virtual sales team for multiple very good coaches in like a multitude of industries.
Right.
And I implement these sales teams, and it's funny because the sales process that I teach these people, that these business developers or virtual salespeople to go through. Yes, is there an incentive to act fast? Yes, but if you're not doing business with us today, hey, look, we're not going anywhere, which is the case for most coaches and entrepreneurs with programs. And it's funny, I actually got an email 2 days ago from someone I spoke to 8 months ago for a coaching program I only do consulting with now.
Wow.
but I still have the email set up on my phone and everything. But it's funny because they emailed back and they said, look, I've been saving up the money. I know 100%. I've watched what the students through this program have done. I want to work through this program. And I said, awesome. Let me get you in touch with the right person to take your payment.
Yeah.
And that happens so much, obviously you're the window between pitching your service and the close, the faster that happens, the more likely you are to succeed at all levels of business. But, that high pressure stuff doesn't work. And people recognize that.
Yeah.
And when you don't put them through a high pressure situation, they respect you and they'll come back. They will come back.
It's so true. I'm thinking of this because recently my husband and I just came back from Cabo with our kids, and we were thinking about, we've had so many friends saying, oh, you should join our timeshare, you should join this, and of course, when you're on vacation, they offer you that. And we thought, you know what? I said to him, I'd kind of be curious to see what the presentation is like. and literally from a marketing sales perspective, I'd love to see how they do this. Yeah. And so we sat down and we went through the presentation, and the guy was great up until a certain point. We had all of these questions, and we had the agreement that, we're not doing anything until we sleep on it or talk about it privately. And the guy was not having it. It was kind of just like, you either get this good deal, and he kept going lower and lower and lower on the price. The more questions we had, the more time that we took. And he's like, I've got all these people lined up who want this, and they're going to take your spot and this and that. And I can only offer this for today. And if you don't do it in the next 30 minutes, and I can walk out, I can give you 2 minutes alone. We were like, what? And all of a sudden, all of everything that sounded so great about what he was selling just kind of dwindled into like, ooh, and it was just this icky feeling. And I thought to myself, had he gone about this a totally different way and said, come back when you're ready, and wasn't so desperate about it, even though he kept saying, I don't need this, I don't need the commission. It was just, it was just this whole icky feeling. And I just thought to myself, he would do so much better if he wasn't, I understand the, I can offer this to you for this many days, or, we can only do this for so long. But that on the pressure right now, you've got to do it, just really, I think, turns people off. And I know in our business, we have, we can offer certain deals for a certain amount of time. We have the same where it's people that come back 5 months later after talking to you, and we kind of, just say, hey, just thinking about you, checking in, seeing how you're doing. But there's never that you've got to buy right this second. And I feel like that doesn't really work with people anymore.
Yeah, well, sadly it does, or they wouldn't be doing it.
Well, yeah. Maybe for a smaller, but yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's that's the type of person or situation. It makes me upset because that's what gives sales professionals a bad name.
Yeah,
people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so I'm sorry about that. You could have had a timeshare.
I know. Well, it's funny because then we found another, company that we were like, oh, I think we'll go with these people. Anyways, but yeah, it's just, I just think to myself, it's all about that experience, and people want to feel taken care of and not so rushed. And I suppose there is, the time incentive. The time incentive does work. I mean, believe me, there's so many things, sales, you have, 2 weeks to use this discount or that. And I'm all about that. But I think what is so important is how the prospect feels. It's like that trust and feeling like they're making a good decision, because after all, you want them to refer people to you, and you want them to come back, especially if you have some type of business that, is a repeat type business. So to me, that I just think it's all about that customer experience that they have.
Oh, you're 100% correct. And if I could kind of share an experience with that.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I helped implement an online sales team for a very well-known coach in her field and in her industry. And, she kind of launched her coaching program I guess it was about last November. One of the very first prospects I spoke to was these two guys One, they own this, amazing company that's based out of New Zealand and California. And they were in this situation, with their business where finances were frankly just really tight. They knew they needed coaching. They knew they needed help to get out of that situation. But, it was just, they were in a tight spot, and it became very obvious to me that, them investing in the coaching that they needed might not be what was going to happen, towards the end of the call, but the whole sales call and process, I walked them through, and I said, look, guys, this is 100% doable, and I walked them through the whole thing. And, they ended up actually, investing in that coaching, and I, their business has, grown 14 times over since last November. They've become dear friends at this point. But it's funny because I actually, met them at a conference in April. And while we were there, and I was actually teaching a sales process to business owners, and I was teaching business owners how to take, psychologically people through a sales process. And one of these guys, or actually they were both in the room, but I asked one of them, and I turned to him and I said, Russell, at the end of that first sales call with me, how did you feel? And like everyone was looking at him because it was like my life, like what I teach there was someone there who had experienced what I teach,
Yeah.
And he sat back and he said, it was the first time I ever felt like someone was actually trying to help me.
Wow.
He said, I felt empowered. I felt like I could do it for the first time and for a long time. And I was like, whew, that could have gone either way, but
right.
But in all reality, when you take people through a proper sales process, not like one of these, 1980s, hard close them kind of sales process, but any sales process in the 21st century should be about really serving people and helping them. And when you do that, people feel it. People want to work with people who want to help them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm 100% on the same page as you.
Awesome. I love what you're doing, and I love that you're, teaching this to other people. I think it's so important because people are smarter now, with all of the technology, and there's so many types of ways to sell to you and market to you, whether it's through social media, there's still print, there's emails, there's presentations, there's just so many, and people start to feel that, unauthentic feeling and they want to feel that they're being taken care of and understood. So that's like the best compliment to get is that, I really feel like somebody wanted to help me. That's amazing. What is it like for someone to work with you, and what are the various ways that they can?
Yeah. So, I do a lot of speaking. Someone could go to stanwayspeaks.com. And I do a lot of speaking, but I, in all reality, it's funny, people can go to my website, Peak Sales Results. That's my business and my company. But, in all reality, people can work with me. I have a Facebook group that, I curate, pretty closely. And I kick a lot of people out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, my goal is to have like a holistic, happy, good vibration kind of sales community. And so, it's the Peak Sales Results Facebook group there. But, in all reality, my goal is just to try to get out and share the message that, like, look, sales is different. If people want to work with me, by all means, like, look, you can give me money. That's great. But I try to give so much free content that, people understand that, oh man, working with Stan might actually be truly life-changing. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I'd like to talk about that for just a little bit, about giving away free content. Because I think there's so much to be said for, charging the right amount for your value, to making sure that people really value what they're getting from you. And then at the same time, giving away free information so that they build that trust with you. What's the right amount of free content that you give away?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I listen to, you may or may not know Jason Swink. Jason Swink, had a large digital marketing agency. He sold it for lots and lots of money. Now he helps train other digital marketers. But he was asked this on a podcast I listened to recently, and I thought his answer was beautiful. He said, I give absolutely everything away except for like the top 5 or 10%, because people wouldn't understand it and understand how because people wouldn't understand how easy it is.
Right.
And that's kind of my approach. I actually had a sales call this morning, right before this interview with a woman who, wanted to work with me personally, and I gave her so much free advice. I said, look, I truly believe if you just implement everything I just told you, you will go and make probably $750,000 this year. Honestly, just do what I said.
Yeah.
But I think there's other things you can do to really change your business. And she said, well, what are those things? And I said, if I told you right now, you would think they're so simple that you wouldn't go and do them. And because you wouldn't, and because you haven't invested with me and put your own money on the line, and you wouldn't think they're worth doing, it would be pointless for me to tell them to you. And I had already given her so much really great advice. She actually said, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then they want more. They're invested. They want to get the best that they can from you after that.
Yeah. I mean, truly, when you help people and just give them great advice, I mean, look, giving away free advice is great, but there's that right threshold. And I think, as you probably well know, every business, every industry is a little different, but if you give away too much for free, people just won't take it. They won't understand the value with it.
Right. Well, that's awesome advice. So Stan, we can find you at stanwayspeaks.com. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is if someone wants to hire me to speak. But really, my home base is peaksalesresults.com. And that's kind of where everything hangs out, I guess.
Awesome. I will be sure that we have those two sites and your social media following as well on our blog post and show notes. So much great advice in here. I love it. And I think it's so important. Again, people are, whether you realize it or not, whether you call yourself a salesperson or not, we're somehow doing it. And you can't get enough good advice on how to communicate with people. And for them to have that feeling of, I feel like you really want to help me. That to me is the best. I mean, that's that you've connected with your customer exactly how you need to, and they trust you and they want to give you their money.
Yeah, and you've created a raving fan
who's
going to give you referrals.
Exactly, which is so important. Well, Stan, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Well, thank you. No, it has been an honor talking to you today, and I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's Get Genius. You can learn more about The Draw Shop at www.thedrawshop.com, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Your home for kick-butt custom whiteboard marketing videos. Your ideas come to life. Thanks for listening. Please share, comment, and make any suggestions for future Genius guests.